One of the players that I'm really excited about with UConn this year that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough is Jacob Furphy, the Australian freshman who, you look at a lot of recruiting services, you look at a lot of the 24/7, and they don't even mention a player like Jacob Furphy, but he had a great showing at the U19. It still freaks me out that he's not related to Johnny Furphy, which I don't understand. I feel like there needs to be some change there because it just throws me off mentally. But he had his little introduction to the Husky fans on the UConn Twitter page. They showed some practice clips, and he made some statements about how he's excited to play in front of the fans. He's trying to show that he belongs at this level, which I thought was a funny or interesting thing for him to say, a player of his caliber, who I'm very much excited to watch. But Ryan, I want to get your thoughts on Jacob Furphy and what you've seen from his game. And then also, like, I had this conversation with somebody else. What do you think his fit is with this UConn team? Because obviously they got options, right? Like Jacob Furphy might be the ninth guy on this team in some world. Like also he might play more than we think, depending on how some other guys look. But what are your thoughts on Jacob Furphy's game, and then maybe your thoughts on how he fits with this UConn team?
Well, maybe Furphy is like a Johnson in the United States, where like the name Furphy in Australia is just like
See,
they just got
Brian,
they just got it.
that's why I needed to bring this to your forefront because that didn't even come across my mind yet, and that's what I needed. Thank
I
you.
don't know. I don't know if maybe a
No,
Johnson.
I'm running with that now. That's the thing. I don't care. I'm running with that.
I'm not really sure. I'm not sure of any other names that are like not crazy
Mm,
used. Johnson maybe a James more than the Johnson,
yep.
something like that. But maybe that's what it is, or something like, or they're distant cousins. They don't know. But I like him. I think we talked about the tweet and the video and stuff, him being interviewed, and like it says like built for stores. And we were talking about how he looks like he just got out of a war, basically, in the video, and like he looks disheveled. But like that's built. If you're built for stores, you're built for it. You either are, or you aren't, or you ain't. Like it's that simple. And he probably is. And I don't think 90% of the players, if not 99 or 100% that go to UConn are built for stores. They know that going in, especially at this point after the massive publicization of Danny Hurley in the UConn program. But I like him. I really think he could be like a Liam McNeely for them, just in a lesser dial back role because there's levels to this and stuff. And like you said, they know that Solo Ball, Caravan, Terrace Reed is kind of like their guys, and Silas Demery. And then you get into him, Furphy, Braylon Mullins, Malachi Smith, Jalen Stewart, Jaden Ross, Ryba. Like, there's a lot of dudes to fight for a lot of minutes. Liam McNeely, they needed a Liam McNeely more last year than they do this year. So I think they need a dial back version of that coming off the bench. And I think that's what he's going to be, where he can shoot, he can kind of connect, play make, defend, do a lot of the dirty work, be an underrated playmaker too. And I think that's like Dan Hurley thrives off bringing those guys off the bench, thrives off of it.
Dion, how's your job going?
Beginning of the school year, everything's like a little up and down. One of the biggest issues we've had is we can't find any uniforms for our girls' sports teams.
Mm, that's a difficult thing to find a solution for. I know damn well all about that because I got a daughter that just turned 2. She's into sports and she's already outgrowing every little piece of sports apparel she had. Thankfully, I know Clara Kate Creations. Clara Kate Creations was started by a former high school teacher who quit because it wasn't cost effective to send new twins and a 2-year-old to daycare. She found it easier to make girl sports apparel than finding it to buy. And I am so thankful that she exists because if we have an old shirt of Murph's that she's outgrown, we can send it in and she takes that piece of apparel that means something and upcycles it into an outfit that Murphy can now wear as she grows up. She makes great stuff. It's honestly kind of like your fullback's wife, Kyle Juszczyk. Is that how you say it? She does that. But honestly, I think Clara Kate's coming for Mrs. Juszczyk's job.
I love that. I'm a big Juice guy, love his wife, love Claire Kate even more than both of them, though.
You can send in your own custom ideas and she will come up with a design. She's just the best. Look up Clara Kate Creations on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and more.
Yeah, 100%. And for me too, you made a great point. Last year, the issue with UConn to me was the roster, right? It was the roster and the fact that, with respect to guys like Samson Johnson and Hassan Diarra, like when they went to the bench or they went to go look to guys to play behind those guys, it was a little bit bare. The cupboard, the toolbox did not have as many tools as needed for I think what Dan Hurley wanted for this UConn team. And the fact that, Jacob Furphy And I'm very interested to see what his role is going to be. And honestly, I really don't even know if I'm going to know what it's going to look like until it gets in the season. But even if it is in a smaller role, there's going to be a Jacob Furphy game this year. I know that for a fact, where things aren't going well and he's able to come off the bench. And I think that, you look at possibly where he could play too. Like he could play some guard, he could play maybe a little bit of wing position here. The one thing I think works in his favor is that you look at the options that they have at the three. They have like Braylon Mullins, they could play at the three. They could play Stewart as well, Jalen Stewart at the three. Jacob Furphy's a little bit different than those guys. I think Jalen Stewart's like this athlete, a guy that gets up and down. Braylon Mullins is a guy that is a professional bucket getter at in every sense of the word. Furphy's more of like a connector piece, which you look at some of the great teams that UConn has had. Like Cam Spencer was one of the great connector pieces of all time, which is even crazy to say, but shout out to Cam Spencer. Like, he just did everything for like connecting that UConn team with intensity. There's a world where maybe even down the line, Jacob Furphy gets into that connector piece role. But for him to be a part of this culture and him to be a part of UConn and even having the little insight to his mentality, like he's trying to show that he belongs at this level. There's something to be said about UConn players that have this like I kind of want to like y'all are. It's crazy to say because UConn's a back-to-back defending national champions, but inherently, like Hurley puts chips on these guys' shoulder. Like they walk into places with like an FU mentality, like how dare you think I don't belong here when I don't think anyone's saying UConn doesn't belong anywhere. But uh, like don't you think like mentality wise, Jacob Furphy saying that like I'm trying to show I belong at this level shows something of what he wants to be for UConn.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're so right about the UConn like mantra of walking in places and just being like just trying to be different and like every game is a battle and a war and Dan Hurley's gonna make it that even if they're going no slight but into DePaul or wherever they're going and even like they're playing New Haven, first D1 game ever, they're playing at UConn. Dan Hurley's gonna be like, guys, if we don't win by at least 50, I'm like everyone's running whatever they're doing. So I definitely buy into like that value of that, like you said, like he's trying to say, I belong on this level, I belong in this program, I belong playing. And like you said, I don't think he has to be a top five player on the team to be in the starting five. I'm not saying he's going to be in the starting five at all, really, all year, but like Braylon Mullins is a bucket, but they have solo ball and Alex Caravan can score, right? So do they need a third guy in the starting lineup? And then maybe they go athletic with Stewart or something like that. Or maybe they want a little bit of a hybrid and they want kind of like that with Furphy. And they'll probably toy around with those rotations and stuff throughout the year, obviously, and especially earlier on. But I like it a lot. I think being versatile is something different in their wing room and also just valuable to have on any team. And like you said, depth it was an issue last year. It ain't an issue this year. And like guys like Jacob Furphy. So I think these are the X factors, right? You're going to get something out of it. You're getting 20 a game out of solo ball or 15 to 20 a game. And Silas Demery is going to be a great two-way point guard. You know what you're getting out of Caravan. Terrace Reed, I think we know what we're getting, but like another conversation.
Yeah,
I know I know he's a hot topic on the program.
yeah,
But
definitely.
we'll see what we get from Furphy. Will be a big piece. So
Yeah, I think Furphy, what he can do his game, I'm very interested to watch. I was a big fan of his, like just watching some of his stuff coming up. Him choosing UConn, I think meant a lot and shows me a lot about what when a player like Jacob Furphy chooses UConn, I think mentally you see how a kid is made up. And I think that you are able to see that. And to your point, Dan Hurley's going to do whatever to instill on his team that they do have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to probably come to that first game and be like, I ran past, or I heard at New Haven they had a pep rally and they said they could keep it within 50 and he'll like be like, all right, that's disrespectful, or
they said they got the best pizza, and they said that
how dare
can't
they?
have that.
How dare they? Does DePaul play at Wintrust Arena still? Is that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna like they left one chair out at a locker in the visiting locker
Mm.
room at Wintrust. How dare they? Let's go beat DePaul by 90. Like that's just the way that Dan Hurley operates. But like I said, I'll be very interested to see what Jacob Furphy looks like. But even given from that short video clip, outside of his game in general, it seems like mentally he's gonna be a great fit for this UConn team.